So today we'll be discussing on EC2. Let's try to complete the EC2 other options which are available. Yeah, yesterday we seen EC2 some what about EC2, EC2 dashboard, some EC2 features, instance types, other things. So let's continue from where we stop. Let me go. Configure instance. So yeah, so if you see here, we have discussed about VPC subnets. We are aware. Let's select public subnet and auto assign IP address. Let's enable public IP address and capacity reservation. Yesterday I was not clear about this one. So capacity reservation is nothing but we'll discuss in today. Say for example you have a project, right? So you know this project is running for 2 years. So for 2 years you know this many missions, this many developers you will have, and this many production missions, UAT missions, and testing missions you need. So for that you will go and reserve those instances in upfront, because in that availability zone you might not have those type of instances very often. So you will reserve in advance and you can use them in later. So we'll discuss this in some time after seeing all these other configurations. So we have seen monitoring. Monitoring we will see in detailed monitoring how to enable that. And tendency we have seen. Then bus systems we have seen. File systems ignore for now. We will see in tomorrow's session. Tomorrow's session is about storage. So network interfaces. So what is this network interfaces? So if you see here, you have Ethernet 0 and you have new network interface, and primary IP you can give here. This is your internal IP address 10.1. Let me give us 100. So you can also give your secondary IP. You can give two private IPs, one for one EC2 mission. So 10.1.1.101. So if you do like this, there will be two IPs. So what is the use of this Ethernet one is? So let's say you can add one more Ethernet cable for this one. Why? Because let's say you have an applications where you are running your server and where you are having your database server. Let me take notepad. Just give me a second. Sorry for that. Let's assume we have 4 subnets here. Okay. Let's say this is a subnet which will start with 10.1.1.0 of 24. Similarly, let me say this as 2. Yeah. So we have 4 subnets here. Let's say we have a server for a database here. So let's keep it as this one. Okay. So let's assume this is our database. Now you need to connect to this database from different applications. Let's assume this first subnet is your management subnet. And here you have your actual production subnet. Okay, your production servers are here. And third, let's assume you have your backup servers. And fourth, let's assume you have some monitoring subnets. And let's assume there are some other EC2 instances and backup servers. Let's assume you have your internet here. Okay, so if you see here, so we have 4 subnets in our VPC. Let's assume this is our VPC. So in this VPC, let me draw it properly. So in this VPC, you have 4 subnets. So you will use one subnet for for production. So your productions, this is, let's assume these are your EC2 instances. So okay. So one subnet you will use for production servers. One subnet you will keep only management subnet. So here, whatever the traffic is coming to this management, you will make it as public subnet, and remaining all will be in private subnets. Let's assume like this. And you have your database. Normally database will be in RDS. So what will happen? So you need to connect your production servers to database to update your application data, right? So for that, let us assume you will use Ethernet 0 network interface. Let's assume you are using Ethernet 0. Now let us say if for some reason production server is gone down, so then automatically your backup servers, either through network load balancers, the traffic whatever is coming from internet will come to your backup servers, right? So from the EC2 servers will be activated, and the customers will be applying from here. So what you need to do, so backup servers will go and communicate with database again. So after some time, the monitoring subnets or monitoring servers need to get some, some data from database. Means, say for example, they are monitoring some logs. So if they request for 40 GB of logs, okay. So if all the communication will happen only through one Ethernet cable, right? So the network will be too high. So this is free. AWS will not charge anything for network interfaces. So you can create as many interfaces as you can. So now, given that, so production traffic will update the database through Ethernet cable. You create one more one, Ethernet 1, so which will allow the backup server to update it to database. And you create one more network interface, Ethernet 2, to read the database and provide to monitoring server, so that the monitoring server will provide the dashboarding logs for the BAU team. So that's how this network interfaces will help us. So network interfaces, what it will do, it will allow one or more interfaces for single EC2 server or single RDS or DBS server. So because of this one, in each one Ethernet route, you can do one operation. So here you will write to database, here you will write to database, here you will read the database of monitoring logs, like that. So that the network load traffic will be distributed through different Ethernet cables. That's the usage of this Ethernet one. And also to check how many Ethernet devices if you want to add for one EC2, right? So it depends on the EC2 instance type what you take. So if you take for T2, it might be one T2 microwatt we are taking, right? Free tier one. It might be one or two. If you go for M4.X large, it will be 3 or 4 Ethernet cables. To check that, just go to google.com. So just type here EC2 interfaces ENI AWS. So just refer to AWS document. So you can read here. Suppose if I missed out any point, right? So you can read the points here, theoretical points. So if you see here, these are the IP address per network per interface for instance type. So this is how, say for example, if you are selecting, what we selected is T1 micro, right? T1 micro, it will allow maximum of 2 network interface cables. At max, I guess it will allow 15 internet network cables connections. So it depends completely on what type of instance. Say for example, M4 dot large. So 2 cables, I mean 2 network interface connections it will allow. and a total of private IPs you can assign 10 private IPs, and public IP interfaces you can assign around 10. Okay. So now we selected T1.micro, right? So at max you can add 2 IP addresses for this one. So let us assign 1 or 2 here. Okay. Then so here you have meta accessible. So this is something like user data means. So during your system, right, you're launching a Linux system. So while launching only, you need to write some startup scripts in order to install a software or anything it might be. So you want to execute some boot up startup scripts. Like for example, during the startup, I need to schedule all the other instances from this mission to execute the batches. So you can write your script here. So that so to recognize that one, so first you need to type hash not symbol or exclamatory mark and backslash. So these three and the bin or bash. So this will represent that you are writing a shell script. So if you type any spell mistake or if you leave any a symbol here, right, whatever the backslashes or exclamatory marks, so it will not recognize whatever you're writing as a shell script into that machine. Clear here? So now let us do something. Sudo hostname. So during the mission, right? So when you launch EC2 server, so we will get the private IP inside the PuTTY terminal. We will get a private IP. So I don't want to see the private IP. So I want to give some name for that mission. So I'll give this one, EC2 instance options. So I'm giving this as a mission name. So whenever I do the PuTTY, right? So my host name would be this one. Clear? So that's about user data. User data is used to write your shell scripts here. So you can write like if you want to install any server, right, web server, Ninjix server, you can write your script here. So we will see that in our next session. So next, coming to storage, don't worry about storage. Tomorrow we'll discuss about this one. So we have here provisioned IOPS and GP2. These are two types of volume types, and also we have EBS and instance store. So we'll discuss what. So whatever we have selected for this mission is IOPS one, right? So if you see here, you have a throughput of 100 by 3000. So we will see and discuss this. What is this throughput? How to calculate this one tomorrow? Okay. So tags. So we have seen multiple times giving only name tag here, right? So let us say EC2 instance. This is the name of the tag what we are trying to give here. Like this, what are the other tags that you can give? So for example, who is the owner of this particular mission? Let's say it is a QA team. Then let's say another tag example, environment. So it is like QA integration environment. And the other tabs like for which application you are using this mission. Let's say this you are using for banking application. And like you can keep like cost center here. So basically this cost center is used, let's say for example 321445. So for your account project ID or cost center ID, if you can give here, where you can evaluate this cost center and filter out during the EC2 billing type. So anything you can give any key and you can give value. So you cannot give duplicate key here. It's like a map. You cannot give duplicate key in a Java map or any other map, right?
Harish, any predefined tags?
Predefined tags you will not get. So you can write your own tags. So they allow you yourself to write the tags.
Okay.
For some, whenever you launch some services, right, by default, whatever the name you are giving, it will be taken as a predefined tag. But for EC2, it will be empty tags. So you can declare the tags of your choice. So next is security groups. So we have discussed the security groups. So you can create a new security group directly from here, or you can directly go and select any security groups which is there already in your VPC. Now we have August 1st VPC. So you can see what are the inbound and outbound traffic rules here. So next, let's go for review and launch. So you can see what all the details you have selected here during in the review and launch. So before launching the mission, you can see verify every detail and launch the missions here. And key pairs as usual. Let us select August 1st key pair. Now the mission is getting launched, right? So if you go and view the instances, so you can see the other information of this particular instance in the dashboard. So for example, let me refresh this one. So there is a private IP which is allocated, which we have provided here, and we can see the different private IPs, right? So we have given two private IPs. So both the private IPs are there, and secondary private IP is also here, which we provided for both the network interfaces. And these are self-explanatory. All the tags you can check it. So if you see here, tenancy, we kept default tenancy, and so monitoring, we kept basic monitoring. When you enable detailed monitoring, you can see that. Let's see that in while doing in monitoring one. And you can see availability zone, security groups. This you are already aware. Scheduling events. So no events is scheduled, like when to start, when to stop servers, right? So yesterday someone has asked. We'll see this later. And platform details, you can see Linux, and this is the root of your root device, and your all your storage box will be here. Okay. So where we have launched this one. So I guess we have not selected the public IP. So what we'll do is, if I want a public IP assigned to that one, let me go for elastic IP, and I'll book a new elastic IP and allocate to that instance. So associate elastic IP. Yeah. There are multiple interfaces attached to, please specify the interface ID. Yeah. So because we have enabled two interfaces, right? Network interfaces. So we need to choose for which we are selecting. Yeah. So if you see here, now you can get the public IP. So this is the elastic IP which we created there. So now we got the public IP address. So let us connect to this mission. So now you see, if you see here through the dashboard, you can see complete information of this EC2 here. But for example, for some few users, they will not provide the console dashboard. In the many projects, they will just give you the IP address of this one, and they will ask you to go and connect through PuTTY session. So that time, how to see these details through PuTTY? Let us see that one. PuTTY. And I guess we selected, okay, August key only, right? Okay. Yeah. So So if you see here, why it has not changed the host name? Let's see. Yeah, so the host name is changed. I guess we have missed something in that auto generation script, right? So we have seen the user data, right? In user data, we have not given properly. We'll try it again while creating next EC2 instance. Now, so you want to see the easy dashboard data here. So for that, what you can do is, so for example, check here, curl. So you have command, and you need to execute this 169.254. So again 169.254. So this is the host which is provided by Amazon. So any host, whatever you are logging in, right? So the same IP address. So you don't confuse and give your public IP address here. Nothing will come if you give your public IP address. So try to hit this endpoint. So call HTTP 169.254, 169.254 latest metadata. So if you see here, it shows all the details of for your EC2 instance. AMI ID is there, launch index is there, so for instance ID is there, and also public host name, public IPv4. So for example, if you want any particular like public IPv4, right? So give the same endpoint, give slash, and append this one, public host name, right? So this is your public host name of your server. Like this, you can try for any other things. Let me type for public IPv4. Clear. So this is your public IP. So like this, you can check the information. But so here there is one disadvantage, right? Say for example, if you want to ping your IP address, then you will type this IP, and you will see whether it is pinging or not. So say for example, if you changed your IP address, so then because now I have kept one elastic IP, tomorrow I'll release this elastic IP and I'll attach another one. That time obviously the public IP address will get changed. So if you want to store this information into a variable, so what you can do is you can create a variable, local variable here, and you can store this data into your local variable. For example, let me clear this one. Let's say public IP equal to just type the command here. Sorry. Yeah. Public IP equal to. So here you need to give this exclamation. I am not sure what they call this one. So it is below my approximate symbol. So that is the one, and at the end as well, you need to give the same symbol. If you give, many people will try with single exclamatory quotes, it will not work. So this is something which the symbol which is in my laptop, it is under approximate symbol beside one. Okay. So now what it happened is curl is nothing but the command line tool which is used to test a particular API application program. Now this is our API which is giving some information about this particular EC2 machine what we have logged in. Now you are storing this particular information into public IP. So this is your public IP variable. So you are storing it here. So next time when you want to ping the IP address, right? So you can directly type public IP. Sorry, I guess you need to use dollar symbol. Ping dollar public IP. Let's see what is store echo dollar.
I think Harish, we need to export that variable. I think in the above, like export public IP.
No, export is not required. See, we are just storing this one into a small variable, right? So that is not required here. So let me check this. Yeah, I guess you need to keep public IP equal to, then you need to start this command. Let's check. Is it not printing? Why it is giving gap? Yeah. So this is the way only. So how to create? So let me check one more one. Hmm. One 254.116. Public IPv4. So bash, no such file. Okay. I tried long back. So my server variable. Let me store in.
Try, can you, Harish, can you try export adding appending?
Let me check this. So you mean to say this export command for this variable?
Yeah.
So I guess
You can remove the dollar also.
yeah. Strange.
I think that is a symbol you told, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you go up like up arrow? The command which we are. I think curl is equal to is not required, no?
No, call command. Yeah. I guess this is the one.
Yeah,
IPv4, not symbol. And I guess export is not required. So my server variable. So this is how it will download. And if you want to print echo dollar my server variable.
yeah, you can add export once with the above command.
Yeah. So this basic shell, right?
Yep, enter.
So equal to is not a valid.
You can remove that equal to also.
Yeah.
I think that special symbol
No.
also.
So sorry, export is not the one. So export you need to write in a bash script file. So let's take this offline. So I'll find out how to do this one. So you can the basic thing is the endpoint whatever you are using in the curl. So you can directly map it to a local variables, and you can use that local variable for your communication. So that's how it works. I will check this and I will show you how to use this one. So similarly for Windows also, when you log into Windows EC2 machine, right? So you can open your PowerShell. Like for example, if you type here PowerShell, so go to any folder. So you can open your PowerShell window here, and you can try the same commands in your server, Windows EC2 server. So it is same. So you can use this curl only. So what are other things here? So if you see here, then statistics we have. So these are like alarms. So for example, if your instance is stopped, if you want to schedule an alarm, or if your instance is restarted, or if your instance is terminated. So if you want to check the alarms, so you can send a notification. So for which, so for example, you can create a topic here. So already for auto scaling labs for earlier batches, I have done some alarms here. So like this, you can select options. Either you need to recover instance. So for example, whenever the notification will come to you, then you can take action either to stop, terminate, or reboot. And we have some timers here, at least for 2 consecutive periods. Means suppose if the server status is failed for 2 times. So for example, in 15 minutes, you are checking the server. If 2 times the server is failed, then you need to set up a new alarm. So that will be triggered. So just try this one. This is self-explanatory and doable. And next thing is monitoring. So if you see here in monitoring, you can utilize, you can check various things like CPU utilization, discrete operations, write operations, everything. But one thing is missing here. What is that? Because that is monitoring for memory. So memory monitoring by default EC2 will not provide you. To enable that, so just follow these steps. So take this as also as your assignment. So go to this document, monitoring memory and disk metrics for Amazon EC2 Linux machine. So go to this. Yeah. So if you see here, sudo follow these steps. Just open your Linux machine, then just try executing these steps. They have given in a very detailed way. So after installing all these syslogs, protocols, and everything, then if you come and refresh, select that particular EC2 machine where you have enabled that logs, and if you refresh here, then you can see your logs which is there for monitoring as well. Okay, so try it. If you are facing issues, let me know. Okay, now if you see anything,
Is this chargeable memory monitoring?
memory ones is not chargeable unless you enable detailed monitoring. No, yeah, that's what. Let me complete this topic. So if you see here, CloudWatch monitoring log. So every 5 minutes it is showing now. So if you see here, there is 1 day, 6 hours, 1 hour, 50 minutes, 5 minutes. But 5 minutes is too long gap, right? Suppose if you are trying to debug an application in a developer EC2 machine, right? So if your logs are coming after 5 minutes, then you cannot work with a live development applications. So then what you need to do, at least minimum of 1 minute lab logs are required for you. So click on this enable detailed monitoring. So they will be charging this one for you. So the additional charges will be there. So by default, whatever is coming with EC2 mission will be with 5 minutes. But if you're enabling detailed monitoring, so all these logs will go to CloudWatch. You can configure CloudWatch here. So by default, it will be going for CloudWatch. So whatever the EC2 in your EC2 mission, what time it has been started, what time it has been terminated, restarted, and any other network interfaces connected. So for example, we attach a public IP, right? So these detailed logs will go to CloudWatch. CloudWatch is nothing but your monitoring service by AWS. So yeah, so now we have enabled detailed monitoring, right? So just refresh this one and open any CPU utilization. For example, now it will come. So it will take around 2 to 3 minutes to reflect. So then you can see here 1 minute as 1 minute option also will be enabled here. Okay. So come on. So you check this one. This 1 minute option will be there. Once you enable your detail, it will take some time to get this enabled one, detailed monitoring. So after that, you can verify here. So 1 minute option should come. So that's the detailed monitoring log. So this you can enable while launching EC2 instance as well. So while launching EC2 instance, you will be getting. Now, we have EC2 server here, right? So in this EC2 server, let us install a web server, Ninjix web server, and we will see whether this EC2 machine will be able to access this EC2 machine through our web server. So if you are not aware about Ninjix web server, Ninjix is like a server which is similar to Apache Tomcat Apache server, but it is purely for web hosting, like website hosting. So to install, let us check for yum update. Plugins for this update. Oh shit. So let us try one more time, because earlier I guess we were not sudo user. That's the reason it might not go out. On 69.254. It is public. Yeah. And echo dollar. So I'll check this command. I guess something is missing here. So I'll check on this and I'll let you know. So let us install Ninjix server now. Yum install Ninjix.
That is, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was telling that.
Please user bin update.
Harish, install spelling is correct, incorrect.
Sorry. Yeah. So I guess it. So the server installation is complete. Let's start the service. Yeah. So if you see here, I just started a web server. So now the web service running in this machine. So which I can access through my public IP, right? So if I go and use this public IP in my browser, since it's running on port 80, by default this welcome page of Ninjix server is arrived here. So this is how I can install a web server. Like this, say for example, for developer, what I need. So I need a web server. I need yeah, other like Eclipse or other things, Java, or if I'm a Python developer, I need a Python installations. So after installing all the softwares, so you'll terminate the mission. So again, if you want to start the lab tomorrow, so again you need to install all these things. So this is a time-taking task, right? So what we will do is you can create your own AMI, so which is nothing but Amazon machine image. So you have option here. Go to your running instances. Select your instance. Right click here. Go to your instance state. Instance settings. Image. Create image. So if you create this image, so whatever the user data is there in this particular image. Now, for example, what we have done, so we have installed simple Ninjix server. So next time when you try to launch, create this image and launch with the help of this image, you no need to install these steps what we have followed, like yum update, install Ninjix server. So all this, for example, I have installed only one web server. Let's assume there are 10 softwares which are required for a developer. So you no need to follow all these steps. So by this default in the image when you launch, all those will be there. Let's see how to create that. Go to image, click on create image, and give the name of the image. Let's say this is developer web server image. So give the description. So if you want to do a reboot, you can do a if you don't want any reboot, you can do this one. If you click it here, if you don't select any option, the reboot will happen. If you don't want to reboot, you select this option. Okay. Then you can add volumes. So if you don't want to add any volumes, by default volume will be this 8 GB what is selected. If you want an additional volume, either you can select for easy 10 EBS volume or instant store. So then you can select how much memory you need to give and from which destination you should copy. Suppose already you have your snapshots or volumes saved here, we can copy from there. Or if it is a plain volume, you can leave as it is. So right now we don't need this one. Let's take the default storage what you are getting, and let us create an image. Now the image is created here. So after creating the image, where you can see that, right? So you go to your AMIs under images. So if you see here, this developer web server is getting created. So one, if you see the status here, once it is pending, once it is available, then even though if I terminate the instance, the EC2 instance what I am having here, and if I go and try, so let me close this one. Go to AMS. So let us give this name as developer mission. So it'll take a couple of minutes to create this image. Once image is created, then you, from here itself you can launch a EC2 mission. So let us see that one. So before that, let us try to install this. Let us launch one more EC2 mission and install Ninjix server directly through welcome script, welcome bash script. Okay. So last time we tried for Windows host mission, right? It didn't work out. Now let us see that one. So quick start here, right? Suppose if you want to launch through image, we can do it from here. Okay, so we'll do it next time. So general purpose, August and public subnet, enable. And let me leave it as, so here bin/bash. So this is by default, the first line should be this one. And let's be a bit careful now. Sudo host name. Let's give server mission developer. This should be our mission name. So after this one, you can give multiple things like yum update y and yum install from y Ninjix 3. So you can install Ninjix. If you provide -y, then you can give any number like Ninjax tree, or you can give stress tool, or you can give Java like that. We can install multiple things. So I given just Ninjax and tree. So then you can start the service of this Ninjax server, right? In Nginx, Ninjax start. Yeah.
Harris, do you have to put sudo.sui?
Not necessary, because we are using sudo here, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so not necessary. This is a welcome script which will be executed while creating the machine itself. Yeah, and let us add a couple of users here. User and let's say developer 1. Copy developer 2. Let's add one more user, developer 3. Okay. Go to storage. Let's give default and let's give a tag here. Name. Go to security groups. Select August 1st. Go to launch and so go to putty and copy this public DNS and any idea why connection refused? Because the machine is not yet up. So if you try now, it's running, right? So if you try now, you might get it. Yep. So if you see here, the machine is up. So we have not installed any software. So even though if you not install, so just try with this IP. It may take some time to install the software. So just give some around 3 to 4 minutes. Meanwhile, you can check in this machine whether really Ninjax server is installed or not. So for that, you can try in the cd user share Nginx. So it's not installed.
I feel like Harish script didn't execute.
Yeah,
I think even host name also it should be changed, right?
correct. So what we'll do is let us go and check the developer machine. So you can get the system log. So in the system log, you can verify what exactly happened. Okay, this live log. Get instance screenshot. So let us check in CloudWatch log whether it is enabling or not. Okay, we have not set this one, right? So what we can do is let let us try one more time. Why? Because I guess the slash arrow mark is not there. Slash dollar. So I guess we have given this one. Let us not give that one. I guess that is not required. So sudo hostname. Image. Okay. So this is the IP address. So it should pick up Ninja server. Let's try putty session. Yeah, so it is working. I guess it takes some time to execute the script. Yeah, if you see here, it executed, but why? Because to install this Ninja server, it takes some time, right? If you see here, the developer mission 2. So that's what, while writing the script, you no need to give the slash. So I'll just write the script and share with you after the lab in lab notes. So
the script is like, for example, if I have around 50 commands over there or 20 commands, it's the policy like all or nothing, or how it's executes all, either all or nothing, something like, or
no, not like that. Say for example, you wrote 10 commands, right? So let's say fifth command is failed. So till fourth command it is executed. Fifth command it will ignore. It will try to execute 6, 7, 8 like that. It's not like it's a regular shell script executing whatever the shell file you write, right? So in the shell file, what will happen? The same thing will happen here. It's like a shell console for you. Okay. So let's quickly complete. Give me 10 minutes. I'll try to complete these other options like spot requests, reserved instance, and dedicated. Dedicated host we already discussed. Let's see what are spot instances. Say in Amazon data center, right? So what they're doing is, so they're let's assume this is a rack. This is a rack in one availability zone. Okay. Let's say this is the rack. So what they do is they place servers in this rack, right? So they place servers like this. So let's assume this rack capacity is 100% here. Okay. So around 60% of the rack will be given for on-demand servers. So this is for on-demand. So on-demand is nothing but when you go to EC2 mission here, go to the dashboard. So you launch instance, right? Click on launch instance. So you select and launch instance from this area. This is on demand, means the customer who require an EC2 mission on the demand will come and launch from here. So Amazon has a concept of giving spot instance. So what is the meaning of spot instance means? out of 100% of the availability in the data center, 60% they'll reserve for on demand. Means the customers will be there for 60%, and only 10% they will consider. So 10%, I'm telling in general, not sure how much percent they consider, either 10 or 5 or 20 or I don't know. So in general, I'm telling. So this 10% of the area will be considered for spot instances. Means you can bid the systems and you can get the systems for cheap. But there are some rules for these spot instances which you need to follow. So first thing is, so spot instances are less important. Why? Because they don't give any notice while terminating. They'll just give 2 minutes notice for you to terminate. So spot instances are less important when compared to on demand. Okay, and there is no data guarantee. So they clearly mention, so you don't keep any data on the spot instance mission. Then you can ask, what is the point? Then why I need to use this particular EC2 server, right? So usually you will not keep data in your EC2 servers. You will keep in a RDS mission. All your EC2 servers you can use as a web server, and make sure that your data, whatever customer is accessing, will be pushed to RDS. So no data should be kept in spot instance. That's what they tell. No, there is no data guarantee. So we use it for spot instance for applications where data is not required. So there are three types of reservations in spot instance. So one is suppose if you need an instance for a fixed time. So need an instance for fixed time. Let's say they allow for 6 hours. AWS provides 6 hours of max spot instance. This one type. In the second type, what happens, right? So we can request as many devices as you want, as many servers as we require, as we need, but they will terminate the servers with 2 minutes notice. Okay, so what will happen when the on-demand customers is there, right? So for AWS, on-demand customers are the actual customers who is paying high amount. So when this occupancy is getting more, right, 60 to 80% it came, that time they will just give you 2 minutes notice. Hello user, I'm deleting your mission. So like that. So that's one of the spot instance type. So another method also is there. So for example, here we can request as many devices as we require. For example, 100. Okay, 100 EC2 instances. But there is a chance that mission can be terminated and new mission will be created. So for example, you ask for 100 missions, they give you from fleet, they call it as fleet, I guess, spot fleet or speed fleet, spot fleet. So what spot fleet will have, in spot fleet they will give you some instance types. So for example, C2, M4, like that they will show you instance type while creating. That we'll see it now. So like this, based on the instance type, you will have a fleet. Fleet is nothing but a group of device, group of instances. Okay. So you can say, for example, you need 100 EC2 missions. You can go and request, boss, I need 100 EC2 missions in this spot instances. You can request that. They will give you these 100 missions. But say, for example, currently you are working with C4.xlarge. So for example, on-demand has got increased for C4.xlarge. They'll terminate this instance and they will give you C4. Other xlarge, which is there in the fleet. Whatever the fleet you selected, from that particular fleet only, they will give you another instance. So that is the other type. Let us go to spot instances, spot request. Yeah. So if you see here, click on request spot instance. So these are the use cases where you're going to use load balancing workloads, right? So for example, what are the some of few use cases when you need this spot instance, right? So if, consider Netflix. So Netflix is one of the largest customer for AWS, right? Say Netflix from Monday to Sunday, sorry, Monday to Friday, the user load will be, let's assume 100 servers is required. Weekends, most of the people will again try to log into Netflix, right? So when in weekday, when you require 100 servers, in weekend you need some 1000 servers or 2000 servers. So because weekend user load will be too high, so then additional 1900 servers you need, right? So but how much time you need it for 24 hours or 48 hours. So for example, otherwise another use case is, so your user load is increasing from 6 p.m. to 12 or 11 p.m. in the night. So for this particular time, you need additional 40 servers. That time you can use this spot instances. So those are the use cases. So here you can tell what are the workloads, or for example, you have a very big data which is required to move from one machine to another machine. So for that you need better servers of having CPU. Then you will be able to move your data quickly within 4-5 hours. Then you can release. So instead of going for a normal mission, you can go for spot instances, do your work and release the mission. So select, so for example, if you're doing for CI/CD jobs, so select flexible jobs, or if it is a load balancing, go for load balancing. And launch template. Suppose if you want to launch from existing template, you can select that one. So otherwise you can create a new image here. So go for Amazon Linux. So here you can select the instance type. Say for example, C5.large is there. So change the instance type here. Yeah. So you can see the instance type here. M4.large. Yeah. If you see this one, you will get a discount of around 79%. So the spot price is 0.002, sorry, $02. So let me put in notepad. This spot price for M4.large. Okay. If you go for M4 large actual AWS EC2 price, so $0.10 per hour. If you see here, around 80% of the cost is reduced here. So it is $0.1. Say it's if you're using for 1 month, calculate this into 24 into 30. So that is the cost for 1 month. Okay. Yeah, let's calculate this one into 24 into 60. So $144 is per month. This is in a on demand. Okay, on demand EC2 price for M4.x large. Sorry, large. So let's say same, if you are same instance with same configuration, if you're taking in spot instance into 24 into 30. So $14 is your cost. So almost the reduction is around 80% of the cost is reduced. So this is how spot instance. But spot instance, are you going to use it regularly? Means no, you're not going to use it regularly. Only when you have a specific use cases, then you will be using the spot instances. Okay. Let me select some T2 small. So the network, select which VPC you want to create this instance. So let's say August 1st VPC, and availability zone. Here you have in availability zone 2 this public subnet, and key pair. Let me select that key pair. If you want to add any storage, you can add it here. If you want to enable CloudWatch monitoring, enable this. Dedicated or shared, you select shared one. Then security groups, I'll select this one. Auto assign IPv4, then IAM profile, so I don't want to do anything. So user data here, so you can click the user data. Let's try the host name here now. Okay, so you can give a key, a spot instance. Now let us schedule this spot instance. Let's see whether we will be able to select this spot instance or not. So I'll select it from the fleet. Target capacity, I'll launch only one mission, one instance. And here you can manage the cost. Say for example, you can give the cost here like $0.002. This is the maximum what I can pay per hour. Like this, you can manage your cost. So I'll remove this. Okay, fleet I told, right? Fleet is nothing but a group of instances. So now I have requested t2.small, means, so here there are other fleet, means A1 medium is there, C6 medium is there, T2 micro is there. So these are group of instances. So suppose if T2 occupancy is more in on demand, they will remove this server and they will give you A1 medium. They will ensure that your services are not down. So that's what happening in this third scenario. So this one, okay. Then default roles. So if you see here, estimated price per hour is, this is the 0.008, which is almost 75% savings on top of on demand, which we are using. Fleet also, we have 6 instance pools. Suppose if you are trying to do lab, right? So for example, DevOps lab, if you want to run a Jenkins server, you can use spot instance for 6 hours, because even Indian users, if you try to launch in Ohio, North Virginia region, right? So because it is night time, the on demand will never increase, and definitely your spot instances will be not terminated without any notice. So here is, there is option. So you can see the option like JSON config. If you download that, you will have the configuration here. Let me check this. Yeah. So like this, you can get a JSON file. Here you can see all the details like what we have used for spot instances. So you can, suppose if you want to do any automation, right? So you can use this JSON file. And if you are trying to execute this one through Amazon CLI, automatically, whatever we have done through user interface right now, right? So if you see here, under spot instances, we have submitted a request type as fleet, and T2 instance type and other instance types are there. So before it was scheduled, now it is 0 of 1, means I guess it is occupied. Let us go to EC2 dashboard. Yeah, if you check, one instance should be spinned up with the name of spot instance. If you see here, the instance is pinned up with the name spot instance, and this is the public IP for this one. So copy this public IP and try to connect to PuTTY. Cool. Again, it went wrong. Sudo yum update to install all the updates. So I guess again the bash script went wrong. So this is how you can reserve an instance in Spot. Now, if you see here, if you can identify here as well under life cycle. This is Spot life cycle. if you select any other mission here, right? So for example, developer mission. So this should be normal life cycle. Okay. So this is on demand, which we executed, right? The developer mission, and this is a spot mission. Under spot mission, the life cycle would be spot. So one thing is, two rules here. First thing is, you should not keep your databases in spot instance. So they clearly tell that spot instances are not here for keeping your databases. Second thing is, say for example, you have a jobs where you need to do more GPU processing or CPU processing. For example, like a Bahubali movie which recently released, right? So when they want to do the CPU processing or GPU processing, in background the CGI graphic rendering they want to do for a movie, right? So it takes a lot of processing units, like they cannot do with a high power CPUs as well. So they need to use GPU missions. So that time you can acquire around 50-60 GPU missions, do the job in the night and release by morning. So your job will be done, and also you'll be done with a less money. So that's how the use cases will be there for spot requests. So questions?
Harris, could you please tell me how did you download that JSON file?
See, when you create this one, right, the spot instance, you will have an option. Let me do a new one, so it's not showing here. Spot instance. So here you have option, the JSON file option. So you can download this configuration. So what, after selecting all the options, right? As per your option, you download the JSON file. Okay.
So this script kind of thing will be there for this only, or yeah, for every feature we do
See,
have?
the spot instance is something like they changed the options recently. Earlier, the option for maintaining this target was under this fleet, but now they removed and they kept under this option. Like that, these are changing randomly. So whenever they change this one, the JSON config also will be changed. This you can see in REST API documentation for AWS CLI. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And also,
So
are you going to cover this? I'm not sure. I may have missed this. Like
which one?
creating EC2 instance by AMI.
Yeah,
With
yeah, yeah.
AMI.
We will cover that. We will cover that.
Okay.
We see,
Okay.
we have a
Okay.
separate class for automation of infrastructure, all the creation of VPCs and other things through cloud formation. We have a cloud formation
Mhm.
class. We will
Okay.
cover there. So before winding the session, right? So if you want to quickly understand the difference between CPU and GPU, I'll show you a 1 minute or 2 minute video. CPU was GPU NVIDIA and Mythbusters, yeah. So if you see this, so if you see this video, right? So they're doing a drawing using a CPU processor. The first they demo with a CPU processor how the drawing is done, multiple CPU process. Later they're bringing a device of multiple GPUs similar to multiple CPUs, and they will do a drawing. So you can see the difference why you are using CPU and why you are using GPU. So so this is making a drawing by CPU. So this is how CPU makes the diagram, and if you see, this is a GPU, multiple GPUs. So less than a second, like 80 within 84 milliseconds, they are going to draw a diagram. So if you see here how quick, as soon as if you he press the button, within 84 milliseconds, not even a second, a Mona Lisa picture is designed. So that's the difference between CPU in a nutshell to understand better. So now let's take a slow motion look. Yeah, this is how. Yeah. So when you're using GPU machines, right? So you need to pay a lot of money. So if you go for on demand, obviously you will end up paying too much of money. So that's where spot instances will allow you to create your instance and use it here for cheap. Similarly, you have reserved instances. So reserved instance is nothing but click on purchase reserved instance. So if you see here, you have options, select which platform you want. So let's select Linux and select instance type. So for example, let me select TT Micro, and tenancy default or dedicated. We discussed about tenancy yesterday. Term, here you have either you can select for 1 year or you need to select for 3 years. You don't have option for 2 years. So select for 3 years. And offering class, convertible or standard. Convertible means, let's say today you are selecting T3.micro. Tomorrow your requirement change and you want a M5.x large. Then if you need to go with option to convertible. Or if you are sure that always I will use T3.micro only for my labs, then you can go with standard. Okay, that's the difference between that. And payment option, either you can pay, say for example, you selected for 3 years, right? You can pay upfront, all the money which is required for 3 years, you pay it now, or monthly billing if you want to do no upfront, you can select, or partial upfront, you pay for 1 year, then you can do for that. So that is the one. So when you click on search, right, so it shows you the price upfront price for 36 months. 36 months, $63 will be upfront price. So if you go and compare this one, right, so effective cost is $0.05. So for example, T3 T3 dot micro, AWS, okay, yeah, micro AWS C2 price. Come on. T3 dot large, T3 dot micro, $0.014. So if that is the actual original price, if you see the result price, 0.005, which is far less. Now, let's say if you don't want to pay partial, if you pay full amount, still they will reduce this money, like $63. They'll reduce to, sorry, upfront. So partial upfront, this is for 36 months. So this is $123 for 3 years. So this is for 1 year, yeah. Or suppose if you select for one year, 2 months, so this is your cost. Or you're offering, say for example, if you go for convertible, they'll increase this cost. So 61 to, come on. So what will be the use case here means, say for example, you got a new project, you are giving like a service-based company like Infosys or Capgemini or Wipro, you got a new client, okay? Your SOWs are getting signed. Now you will get an option like, so for example, I will have 20 developers. So you need 20 dev missions. So then you have 10 testers. Then this is your setup, okay? Bare minimal setup for your project. So let's say this is some banking project. So this is your initial setup. Later, for this one, you need a QA environment, UAT environment, and a production environment. So production environment and UAT environment, this will be always fixed, right? So let's assume you have 20 missions required for UAT, 20 missions for prod. So this on for QA 20 QA mission 20 QA missions. So on total, 60 EC2 instances you need for sure for next 2 years, because your SOWC is already signed. So what you can do is, here you can come and select the reserved instance. So you can come and reserve this instance for 3 years. So I need this many instances. So if you go and compare, the cost will be almost 70 to 80% of the cost will be reduced when compared to on-demand instance. So that's how people will do now. Questions here? See how your examination questions will be there. So for example, they will say a new organization is there, you are an architect. So now you are getting a project. So you need around 15 instances, which are not permanent, and you have 45 devices which are permanent. So what type, you need to reduce the cost for the customer. As an architect, what is your best suggestion? So then they'll give options, ABCD options. So you go 15 for spot instance and 45 reserved instance, or vice versa like this, and they will give you your certification exam. So you should understand what is spot instances, what are reserved instances. And dedicated host, I told you already what is dedicated host. So don't click on create dedicated host here. So don't click on allocate dedicated host. It will be charging. They'll charge you more. Because they're going to give the complete host to you. And capacity reservations, right? So a project is coming to you. So you need particular type of EC2 missions for you. So for example, in Ohio, sorry, not Ohio, North Virginia region. So M4 dot large, M4 dot large or X large, I'm not sure about that instance type. So this instance type will be always occupied almost 90%. So if you, even if you go and try in spot instance for NA region, you M4 dot large mission will rarely get this. Why? Because this will be always occupied in on demand. So that time, if you wanted to spin up around 40 instances in M4 dot large in that particular region, if you don't get instances, then you will be, you need to bargain with AWS, right? So what you can do is, you can go and reserve these instances. So I want 40 EC2 missions of instance type M4 dot large. So what they do is, they reserve this instance and they keep it for you. But they'll charge for you, even though you start or stop or terminate, or if you use or if you don't use. Since they are giving these missions for you, they'll charge for the missions for usage. That's capacity reservations. So questions, any questions in spot requests, reserved instance, or capacity reservations? Spot requests, keep in mind that no databases should be installed in these missions. No user data should be there. You should use these missions for only for temporary use. That's where you go for spot request. So here there are 3 types of requests. The one time is, first we request how many instances we need as per the spot price. Then we will provide and terminate. They will just give 2 minutes of notice for the termination, and they will take out the device from spot request. Second type is, say you have a spot fleet where you will have some group of missions. So you say, for example, you need 10 missions. They will launch 10 missions. They'll make sure that the 10 missions are always available from the list of fleet, whatever you have achieved. The other type is, they will give a mission which will work only for 6 hours. After 6 hours, the mission will terminate. So those are the 3 types in spot request. Reserved instance means, so you can reserve the instance as per the either for 1 year or for 3 years. So that's how you can, and based on the instance type, either it is convertible or it is standard. Based on those criteria, you'll reserve the instance. So once the money is paid, then you need to, the instance will be chargeable. So you might ask one question here: what about after 3 years? Will they terminate my mission? Because you reserved only for 3 years and paid for 3. They will not terminate your instance. What they do is, they will move your EC2 mission into on-demand. So then the on-demand pricing will be happening. So the instances will be not terminated without your notice. Okay. And the third one is capacity reservations one. Dedicated host we have seen yesterday. So a complete host will be given to you. So no other customers will be able to, they will not allocate any other EC2 customers in that particular dedicated host. So capacity reservations, upfront, you will come and reserve some set of devices into this cloud, and you will be working with that particular capacity reserved devices. Even though you don't launch those servers after reserving, they'll still charge because they have reserved those instances for your use only. So these are the instance types. So any questions here? See, three things you need to keep in mind. One is placement groups. Second one is tenancy, and third thing is instance booking types like spot request, reserved, dedicated, and capacity. So these things are in EC2. It is very important. So just go through the AWS documents once. Questions? So that metadata one, I'll see why it's not storing the local variable. So definitely there is some issue either with the mission what we took or the way how we are doing. So other than that, if any questions, you can ask me today. So if no questions,